The shy alien princess tried to come to my quarters, because she could no longer contain. Outside, the ship drifted silently through the dark expanse of space, stars flickering like distant lanterns against the black canvas. Rylan sat at his small work desk, eyes scanning the reports on his hollow screen. Another long day of monitoring planetary scans had left him weary, but he welcomed the quiet. In these moments, away from the hustle of the crew and the endless chatter of intercom messages, he felt almost normal. He rubbed his temples and leaned back in his chair, stretching. Just as he exhaled a tired sigh, a soft knock echoed through the door. It was polite, almost hesitant, like someone unsure whether they should really be there. "Who?" Rylan called, glancing at the door. There was no answer, only another soft tap. Rylan frowned. Visitors on the ship were rare this late at night, and he certainly wasn't expecting anyone, especially not in his personal quarters. He rose slowly and approached the door, hand resting on the doorframe. "Come in," he said cautiously. The door slid open with a whisper, and there she was. Princess Vera of the Velari stood in the doorway, her slender figure framed by the soft glow of the corridor lights. Her eyes, large, almond-shaped and glowing faintly with a silvery hue, looked at him nervously. She had a grace about her that seemed to bend the air around her, a gentle elegance that made her appear almost ethereal. She bowed slightly, a gesture of respect, and her voice, when she spoke, was soft, almost like a melody. I hope I am not disturbing you, Captain Rylan," she said, her words careful, measured. "But I could no longer contain, well, what I have to say." Rylan blinked. "Princess Vera," he stepped aside, gesturing toward a chair. "Of course, please come in, but why are you here? It's late and you shouldn't be wandering the ship alone." Vera's fingers twisted nervously in front of her, and she glanced down for a moment before meeting his eyes again. I had to speak to someone I trust, someone human." Rylan raised an eyebrow. "Human?" He studied her face, trying to read her expression. She looked almost fragile, yet there was a determination behind her eyes that made him pause. "I suppose I should feel honored, but why me?" The princess stepped fully into the room and closed the door softly behind her. She paused, as if gathering courage. "Humans," she began, her voice still quiet but gaining strength, "are unusual, different. You carry within you a spirit that no other species possesses. I have watched your people for many cycles, and I have been drawn to your courage, your creativity, your unpredictability." Rylan felt a strange mix of pride and confusion. "I don't understand. You've been observing humans? Why?" Vera's gaze fell to the floor, and she hesitated. "The Velari have observed many civilizations. Most are predictable, most follow patterns, rules, and logic. But humans, you are different. Your choices are not always logical. You take risks, you act with passion, and sometimes you do what others would consider impossible. That fascinates me." Rylan swallowed. He had always thought of humans as resourceful, yes, but to hear an alien princess say this, it was surreal. "I don't know if I deserve such praise," he said carefully, unsure how to respond. "You do," Vera said softly. "And that is why I am here. I have come to you because what I carry, what I can no longer contain, requires the perspective of someone human. Your species, your mind, it may be the key to what is coming." Rylan felt a chill run down his spine. He had expected many things during his time aboard the Odyssey, but a mysterious message from a royal alien visitor late at night was not on that list. What is coming?" he asked. Vera took a small step closer, lowering her voice. "A threat, one that the Velari cannot face alone. I cannot tell anyone else, not my advisors, not my guards. The risk is too great, but you might be able to help. If you agree, your mind, your instincts could make the difference." Rylan's heart beat faster. He had faced danger before, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. "Why me?" he repeated, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. "Because," Vera said, her eyes searching his, "you are human. And humans, you do not always follow the rules. You think differently. You act when others hesitate. I have watched you from afar, Captain, and I believe that you may be able to do what others cannot." Rylan took a deep breath, trying to steady his nerves. This was insane. A princess of a faraway alien race telling him that he was their last hope, or at least part of it. And yet there was something in her eyes, a sincerity, a quiet desperation that made him consider her words seriously. "All right," he said finally. "I'll listen, but I need to know everything. No secrets, no omissions. I can't help if I don't understand the whole picture." Vera nodded, relief flickering across her features. "I understand, And thank you, Captain, truly. She moved closer to the center of the room, hands folded before her. The Velari have long been guardians of knowledge and balance in our sector of the galaxy. We have always acted carefully, observing, ensuring that civilizations do not destroy themselves or others. But recently, a situation has arisen that threatens not just one world, but many. And we cannot stop it alone. Rylan leaned back in his chair, trying to process the weight of her words. And you think humans, specifically me, can help? Yes, she said without hesitation. Humans possess something unique. It is not strength or advanced technology or even speed. It is adaptability. The ability to act when others would hesitate. The capacity to think in ways that others cannot. That is why I have come to you. I could no longer contain this thought, this hope, that a human might make the difference. For a long moment the room was silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Ryland's mind raced. It sounded impossible. And yet, he felt a strange sense of excitement. Here was a princess, someone from a civilization far older and wiser than his own, seeking his help. It was daunting, terrifying even, but also thrilling. All right, he said again, more firmly this time. Tell me what I need to know. Start from the beginning. Vera's shoulders relaxed slightly. She began to speak, her voice steady now, weaving a tale of observation, of secrets kept for centuries, and of a threat approaching that no one could ignore. She spoke of fleets moving in the dark spaces between stars, of civilizations at the brink of conflict, and of a delicate balance that had held for millennia but now teetered on the edge of collapse. As she spoke, Rylan felt a sense of awe and responsibility settle over him. This was bigger than anything he had ever imagined, and yet deep inside he knew that she was right. Humans did think differently. Humans did act differently. Perhaps this was a chance to prove it on a scale he had never dreamed of. Hours passed as Vera shared her knowledge, and Rylan listened, asking questions, forming ideas, and slowly beginning to see a path forward. Outside, the stars drifted past, indifferent to the lives aboard the Odyssey, yet inside the quarters, a plan began to form, a plan that would test courage, ingenuity, and the bond between human and Velari. Finally, Vera paused, her hands clasped tightly before her. That is why I am here, she said softly. I could no longer contain this hope, this belief that a human could make a difference. I had to speak to you. I had to risk protocol. And now I have. Will you help me, Captain? Rylan met her gaze steadily. He saw the truth in her eyes, the quiet strength beneath her shyness, and something in him stirred. He nodded. Yes, I'll help, but we need to move carefully. One mistake, and it could cost more than just lives. It could cost entire civilizations. Vera's lips curved in the faintest smile, a mixture of relief and gratitude. Thank you, Captain Rylan. That is all I could hope for. And with that, the first step of an extraordinary journey began. A journey that would test the limits of human courage, challenge the wisdom of an alien princess, and show the galaxy that even the shyest among them could spark change. The following morning, the corridors of the Odyssey felt unusually tense. Rylan walked briskly toward the observation deck, his mind buzzing with thoughts of Princess Vera's visit the previous night. He had barely slept, his dreams filled with visions of alien fleets, distant worlds, and the weight of responsibility he had agreed to shoulder. The Velari princess was already there, her form graceful as she floated near the panoramic window, gazing at the stars with an intensity that made it clear she had been thinking long and hard about what had brought her aboard the human vessel. Good morning, Captain, Vera said, turning to him with a small, hesitant smile. Her eyes shimmered like liquid silver in the soft light of the observation deck. I hope you managed some rest. Rylan shook his head, running a hand through his hair. Not much. I kept thinking about what you told me. I need to understand everything completely. The fate of your people, the threat, and why humans are so important. Vera nodded, stepping closer. I will explain everything I can. But you must understand, some of this cannot be shared widely, not even with your crew. It is delicate. Lives, not just human, not just Velari, depend on it. Rylan's jaw tightened. I understand, I'll keep your secrets, but I need details. Where does this threat come from? How big is it? Vera inhaled slowly. There is a species in the outer sectors, the Kroth. They are not malicious in the way humans understand malice, but they are extremely expansionist and driven by survival at any cost. Entire worlds have fallen to their fleets, civilizations absorbed or destroyed. The Velari have observed them for centuries, but recently their movements have become aggressive and unpredictable. They are approaching a cluster of inhabited systems, systems where humans reside. That is why I could not remain silent. Ryland's stomach tightened. Humans had colonized several distant star systems, but he had always thought of them as safe behind the watch of the Odyssey and other exploratory ships. Now the threat was real and closer than anyone had realized. "How do humans fit in?" he asked cautiously. "I understand you value our creativity and courage, but this is a war-level threat. Most species rely on fleets, technology, strategies. Humans are still developing. We can barely hold our own in small skirmishes." Vera's gaze softened, almost wistful. "And yet that is exactly why humans are valuable. The Krothi expect predictable responses. They underestimate adaptability, imagination, and the capacity to act differently under pressure. Humans can think around problems, find solutions where others see none. That is why I came to you, Captain Rylan. I believe a human-led approach can succeed where traditional tactics fail." Rylan hesitated. It sounded impossible. But as he watched Vera, he noticed the quiet intensity in her eyes, the sincerity she radiated. "So, you're asking me to help plan something that could save entire civilizations?" "Yes," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "Not only your people, Captain, but the Velari and other species as well. And there is another reason I came to you, something more personal." Rylan raised an eyebrow. "Personal?" Vera's fingers trembled slightly, and she glanced away for a moment. I have observed humans closely. Not just your species, but you specifically. You think, you act, you decide in ways that are unpredictable even to me. And I trust that you may be the one capable of understanding not only the threat, but also the delicate path we must follow. This trust is personal, and I could no longer contain it." Rylan felt a strange warmth in his chest. There was no doubt that Vera was nervous. The slightest motion of her hands or the soft quiver in her voice betrayed it. Yet beneath her shyness there was strength. A strength that came from conviction, from hope, and from a desire to make a difference. "I don't know what to say," he admitted. "It's not every day a princess tells you that she trusts you with the fate of the galaxy." Vera's lips curved in the faintest smile. "Then say you will listen, say you will try. That is all I ask." Rylan nodded, drawing in a deep breath. "I'll listen, I'll try, tell me everything." For the next several hours, Vera spoke. She described the Krothi fleets, their methods, and the patterns they had observed over decades. She spoke of civilizations that had been absorbed and destroyed, of alliances that had failed, and of the strategies that the Velari had employed to delay confrontations. Her voice was calm, but there was an undercurrent of fear that she did not try to hide completely. Rylan asked questions constantly, trying to grasp the full scope of the situation. He learned that the Krothi were not mindless aggressors. They were intelligent, resourceful, and dangerous. But he also learned that they had weaknesses, patterns that could be exploited if one thought differently. That was where humans could excel. That was where he might make a difference. As the hours passed, Rylan began to sketch ideas on a hollowboard, combining his knowledge of human tactics with the information Vera provided. He proposed strategies that were unorthodox by Velari standards: decoy fleets, unpredictable maneuvers, and clever use of terrain and resources in space. Vera watched, intrigued, her curiosity overcoming her initial shyness. "You think like a human," she said quietly, leaning closer to the board. "You see possibilities where others see only constraints. It is remarkable." Rylan chuckled lightly, scratching the back of his head. "I'm not sure I'm remarkable, I'm just thinking differently." "But if it works, maybe that's enough." Vera nodded, her expression serious. "It may be enough, but you must understand, Captain, this will not be simple. The Krothi are relentless. They will not hesitate." "And if we fail?" Her voice faltered slightly, and Rylan could sense the fear she had tried to hide. Rylan met her gaze. "Then we won't fail. Humans don't give up easily, and neither do I." A flicker of relief crossed Vera's face. She seemed to relax slightly, though the tension in her shoulders remained. "I believe you. That is why I risked everything to come to you. I could no longer contain the hope that humans, might be the key to stopping this threat." They continued planning, their conversation a mixture of strategy, theory, and cautious speculation. Rylan found himself fascinated by Vera's perspective, her insights shaped by centuries of observation, tempered with caution and wisdom. Yet he also noticed the small moments of vulnerability, the shy tilt of her head, the way she avoided direct eye contact when nervous, that made her human in ways that surprised him. By midday, the observation deck was littered with holographic projections of star maps, fleet movements, and potential strategies. Vera and Rylan worked side by side, an unlikely team united by circumstance and the shared understanding that failure was not an option. During a brief pause, Vera stepped back from the holoboard, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Captain, there is one more thing. You must understand this is not just about strategy. The Veleri, we have rules, traditions. One of these is that a princess never acts without counsel, but I could not wait. I could no longer contain my decision to seek your help. That is why I am here openly, despite the risks." Rylan nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "Then we'll do this together. Rules or not, we'll face it together." Vera's eyes shimmered with a mixture of relief and gratitude. "Thank you, Captain Rylan. That is all I could hope for. That someone like you might help me carry this burden." The hours continued to pass, and by late afternoon they had formulated an initial plan. It was daring, relying on unpredictability, quick thinking, and human creativity, combined with Veleri technology and resources. It was dangerous, yes, but it was their best hope. As the day drew to a close, Vera turned to Rylan, her eyes soft and hesitant. I know this is sudden, and I know it is unusual, but I trust you. I believe that humans, that you, can make the difference. I could no longer contain this hope without speaking it aloud. And now that I have, I feel lighter somehow." Rylan smiled faintly. "I feel the same, and somehow I think we're just getting started." Outside the observation deck, the stars continued their silent drift through the void of space. Inside, a human and an alien princess stood side by side, united by a mission that would test courage, ingenuity, and trust. It was the beginning of a journey that would challenge them both, reveal the strengths of humanity, and show the galaxy that sometimes the smallest spark of hope can light the darkest path. And for the first time in cycles, Princess Vera felt a quiet confidence that perhaps, just perhaps, the future was not as uncertain as she had feared. The Odyssey drifted silently through the star-strewn darkness, its engines producing only the faint hum of life support and navigation systems. Captain Rylan and Princess Vera had spent the better part of the day reviewing data, analyzing Crothi fleet movements, and refining their unconventional strategies. For the first time since Vera's visit, Rylan felt a glimmer of hope. Their plan was risky, yes, but it relied on human unpredictability, a quality the Veleri had long admired and a quality that could make the difference. Rylan was leaning over the hollow table, tracing potential routes for the human-led decoy fleet, when the ship's alarms suddenly rang, sharp and urgent. The red lights of the observation deck bathed the room in an ominous glow. "What now?" Rylan muttered, his hand instinctively moving to the console. Vera's face went pale, her earlier shyness replaced by a sudden, tense focus. "Sensors indicate a reconnaissance ship has breached the outer perimeter," she said, her voice tight. "It is moving faster than predicted. They must have detected our presence or perhaps our planning. We may not have much time." Rylan's mind raced. "How many?" he asked. "Just one for now," Vera said, "but it will not remain alone for long. Crothi fleets travel in coordinated waves. If we do not act quickly, this vessel will signal its fleet. And then," she paused, her voice catching slightly, "then the region will be overrun." Rylan swallowed hard. "All right, first step, we deal with the scout. Any suggestions?" Vera gestured toward the holographic map. "The Crothi vessel is heavily armored, but it relies on predictability in pursuit. I believe if we create a diversion, we may delay it long enough to prepare the defenses, but it must be precise. The human element, your ingenuity, will be crucial." Rylan nodded, a spark of determination lighting in his eyes. "Understood, let's do it." He moved to the tactical console, fingers flying over the controls as he designed a series of unexpected maneuvers. Unlike the Veleri, who relied heavily on precise calculations and protocols, Rylan incorporated irregular paths, abrupt course changes, and simulated fleet signals that could confuse even the most advanced enemy AI. Vera watched, impressed and slightly anxious. "Your approach, it is unconventional, yes, but it may just work. I trust your instincts, Captain. I hope you are right." Rylan gave her a faint, reassuring smile. Instincts are what humans do best. Sometimes the unpredictable is the strongest weapon. The first engagement began almost immediately. The Krothay scout appeared on the ship's sensors like a black shadow against the stars, advancing with deadly precision. Rylan activated the decoy drones, sending them zipping in unpredictable patterns around the Odyssey. The scout hesitated, its sensors temporarily confused by the irregular signals. Vera's hands hovered over her console, amplifying their telepathic link with the drones to create subtle distortions in the scout's navigation system. "It's working, so far," she whispered. Rylan grinned. "See, unpredictability works." He adjusted the drone's path, forcing the Krothay vessel to chase shadows and false signals, buying precious time for the Odyssey to prepare its defenses. Minutes felt like hours as the chase continued, every movement calculated yet unpredictable, every maneuver designed to exploit the Krothai's reliance on patterns. Finally, the scout grew frustrated, attempting a direct assault on the decoy fleet. Rylan's strategy worked perfectly. The drones scattered in unexpected directions, creating openings and forcing the enemy to overextend its energy shields. "It's retreating," Vera exclaimed, her voice a mixture of relief and amazement. "Your strategy is working better than I dared to hope." Rylan allowed himself a small smile. "Sometimes all you need is to think differently." But their relief was short-lived. The sensors immediately picked up multiple warp signatures in the distance. The main Krothay fleet was approaching, moving faster than any prediction they had made. The reconnaissance ship had successfully signaled them. Vera's face hardened. "This is no longer a test. They are coming in force. If we do not act quickly and decisively, we may lose everything in this sector." Rylan's hands tightened on the console. "Then we act now. Full strategy, human unpredictability combined with Velari precision. Let's show them what humans can do." They began deploying the Odyssey's defenses, coordinating with the Velari fleet in orbit around nearby planets. Rylan suggested unorthodox tactics: feints, decoy ships disguised as cargo transports, and sudden hyperspace jumps to lure the Krothay into traps. Vera relayed the commands to her fleet, adjusting their formations based on Rylan's innovative suggestions. The Krothay fleet arrived with terrifying speed, sleek warships glinting coldly in the starlight, their energy weapons charged, ready to strike. Rylan's heart pounded, but he kept his focus, calculating angles and probabilities, thinking like a human in a way that no Velari could. The first wave hit the decoys. Explosions blossomed in the void of space, energy arcs cutting through the darkness. But the main fleet was waiting, following the human-designed pattern to perfection. The Krothay were confused by the erratic maneuvers, their attacks scattered and misdirected. Vera's voice rang in Rylan's ear through their telepathic link. "Captain, they are trying to regroup." "They are adapting," Rylan nodded. "Then we adapt faster." He adjusted the fleet's path again, forcing the Krothay to split their forces, creating openings for targeted attacks. The Velari ships, guided by Rylan's strategies, struck precisely, using their advanced shields to absorb counterattacks while exploiting weaknesses in the Krothay formation. It was chaos, but a controlled chaos, a battlefield designed to test human ingenuity and Velari precision together. The Krothay had underestimated the combination of these two approaches. Their superior numbers were less effective against tactics they could not predict. Vera's eyes shone with admiration. "Captain Rylan, your thinking is remarkable. I did not expect humans to be capable of this level of strategy." Rylan allowed himself a brief, proud smile. "We're not just capable, we're creative, we adapt. That's the human way." Hours passed in a tense, intricate dance of space combat. Explosions painted the void with flashes of energy, and the Krothay fleet began to falter under the pressure of unpredictability. Rylan's unconventional strategies, combined with Velari technology, had created an advantage that no traditional calculations could have predicted. Finally, the Krothay commander signaled a retreat. The fleet began withdrawing, their advance thwarted by human ingenuity and Velari coordination. The void grew quiet once more, save for the hum of the Odyssey and the victorious sighs of the crew. Vera floated beside Rylan, her face alight with relief and pride. "Captain, you did it. You humans have the ability to change the course of events, even against overwhelming odds." Rylan leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it together. It's not just me. Your people's technology, your coordination, it's what made it work. Humans alone couldn't have done this. Vera smiled softly, a mixture of shyness and admiration. And yet, it was human creativity and unpredictability that gave us the edge. I am beginning to understand why the Velari have always respected your species. Rylan chuckled. I'm glad to be appreciated, but this is just the beginning. The Krothi will regroup. We've only delayed them, not defeated them. Yes, Vera said, her voice turning serious again. But this delay is precious. It gives us time to prepare, to plan. And perhaps it gives hope that humans can play a role far greater than I ever imagined. Rylan nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Then we keep going. We keep thinking differently, acting boldly, and using everything we have. Humans don't give up, and neither do you. Vera's gaze met his, and for a moment the uncertainty and shyness vanished. She looked confident, determined, and ready. Together, she said simply, we will face what is coming, Captain Rylan, together. As the Odyssey drifted silently among the stars, its engines a steady hum against the void, a human and an alien princess prepared for the battles ahead. They were an unlikely team, bound by trust, courage, and the understanding that sometimes the smallest spark of ingenuity could turn the tide against overwhelming darkness. And in that moment, Princess Vera realized something she had never allowed herself to hope, that humans, fragile and unpredictable though they might be, were capable of greatness beyond measure. The Odyssey floated silently against the backdrop of distant stars, but the calm was deceptive. Captain Rylan and Princess Vera had spent days preparing for the inevitable confrontation with the Krothi fleet. The earlier skirmish with the reconnaissance vessel had been a small victory, a test of human unpredictability against the enemy. But now, the main fleet was approaching, massive, relentless, and far more dangerous. Rylan stood at the tactical console, his hands moving with practiced speed over the controls as he reviewed the latest scans. Energy signatures, warp patterns, fleet formations, all indicated that the Krothi were coming in full force. Their sheer numbers were intimidating, but Rylan's mind was already racing, searching for patterns, weaknesses, anything that could be exploited. Vera hovered nearby, her hands clasped, her silver eyes fixed on the display. Despite her nervousness, there was a determination in her stance that bolstered Rylan's confidence. "Captain," she said quietly, "the Krothi fleet is not only larger than expected, but their formation is changing rapidly. They have learned from our previous encounter. They are cautious, calculating. This will be more difficult than we imagined." Rylan exhaled slowly. "Then we need to think differently. We've got the advantage in creativity, Vera. They follow patterns, we don't." The princess tilted her head slightly, impressed despite herself. "Yes, humans do not always follow rules. Perhaps that is why I trust you to lead this effort." Rylan glanced at her, giving her a small, reassuring smile. "Then let's show them what humans can do." He began outlining a bold plan to counter the Krothi fleet. It was unconventional, almost reckless by standard military doctrine, but that was the point. The enemy relied on predictability, and the Odyssey would exploit it. Rylan combined decoy ships, false warp jumps, and erratic attack patterns with the Velari fleet's superior shields and weapons. The plan relied on timing, creativity, and rapid improvisation, the kind of thinking only humans excelled at. Vera monitored the adjustments, her expression a mixture of awe and apprehension. "Captain, this is daring," she said softly, "perhaps even dangerous, but I sense it may work." The fleet began its maneuver. The Krothi advanced, sleek ships gleaming coldly against the void, weapons charged and ready. The first wave approached the decoy fleet, which moved unpredictably, scattering in directions the Krothi could not anticipate. "Phase 1, Rylan muttered, his fingers dancing over the controls. "Keep them busy." Vera coordinated telepathically with the Velari ships, amplifying their shields and adjusting their energy distribution to match Rylan's sudden changes. "They are reacting, but slowly," she reported. "Your strategy, it is confusing them." Rylan's grin was quick, almost hidden. "Exactly, keep them off balance. We can't fight them head-on, we have to outthink them." The Krothi commander attempted to regroup, sending a wave of attack ships in a coordinated assault. But Rylan had anticipated this. He ordered the decoy fleet to make a sudden hyperspace jump while leaving behind energy signatures that mimicked the movement of the main fleet. The Crothi, fooled by the illusion, attacked phantom ships, wasting energy and exposing gaps in their formation. "Now," Rylan shouted. "Valeri strike fleet attack the exposed flank." Vera's fleet moved with precision, hitting the Crothi's weakened points with concentrated bursts of energy. Explosions bloomed in the void, lighting the darkness with flashes of blue and silver. The Crothi scrambled, trying to adjust, but Ryland's combination of unpredictability and quick decision-making kept them off balance. This is incredible," Vera whispered, watching the battle unfold. "Humans, you truly are remarkable." "You're thinking it is unlike anything I have observed." Ryland shook his head, focusing on the tactical map. "We're just using what we've got. Imagination, intuition, quick decisions. That's what humans do." As the battle raged, Ryland noticed that the Crothi commander was adapting. Their ships began to split, attempting a flanking maneuver that could bypass the decoys and target the Odyssey directly. He acted immediately, redirecting the Velari shields to form a temporary barrier while sending a small human-led squadron on a daring intercept course. "This is risky," Vera said nervously. "If the Crothi break through, then we improvise," Rylan replied calmly. "We adapt. That's our advantage." The intercept squadron moved with precision, human pilots taking advantage of unexpected gaps and using irregular attack patterns that the Crothi could not predict. Each move was calculated yet unpredictable, forcing the enemy to divide their attention. Explosions lit the void as ships collided, energy beams streaking across the battlefield. Vera's eyes shone with amazement. I never imagined humans could execute such tactics. It is brilliant." Rylan allowed himself a brief, satisfied smile. "Sometimes brilliance is just thinking differently when everyone else follows the rules." The Crothi commander, frustrated and increasingly desperate, launched a full-scale attack on the Odyssey. Massive energy blasts rained down, threatening the shields and testing the limits of the human and Velari defenses. Ryland's heart pounded as he calculated angles, distances, and energy outputs in real time, issuing commands that constantly shifted the fleet's positions. "Captain, they are concentrating on the main ship," Vera said, alarm creeping into her voice. "If the shields fail—" "Not today," Ryland said firmly. "Human ingenuity doesn't fail." He activated a series of unexpected maneuvers, using the Odyssey's advanced engines to make sudden directional shifts that threw off the Crothi targeting systems. Simultaneously, he directed decoy energy pulses to simulate multiple ships, confusing the enemy further. The Crothi attacks missed their mark, their weapons striking empty space or weaker decoys. Vera's hands flew over her console, amplifying shields, redistributing energy, and coordinating with the human pilots. "Captain, it is working. Your strategies, they are keeping us safe." Rylan grinned, sweat beading on his forehead. "Then keep it up. Every second counts." Hours of intense battle passed. Rylan's mind worked tirelessly, constantly predicting, adjusting, and improvising. The Crothi, despite their advanced technology and superior numbers, were slowly being outmaneuvered. Human creativity, combined with Velari precision, turned the tide. Finally, the Crothi commander signaled a retreat. Their fleet began to withdraw, battered, confused, and unable to maintain coordination. The void returned to silence, save for the hum of the Odyssey and the flicker of distant stars. Vera floated beside Rylan, her expression a mixture of relief and admiration. "Captain, you did it. Humans, your species, you are extraordinary. I am honored to witness this." Rylan shook his head, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it together. Your people's technology, your coordination, it was essential. Humans alone couldn't have done it." "But humans plus Velari, that's unstoppable." Vera smiled softly, her shyness returning in a gentle wave. "And yet, it was human unpredictability that gave us the edge. I understand now why the Velari have always held your species in high regard. You are not just capable, you are remarkable." Rylan allowed himself a small laugh. "I'm just a human doing what humans do best, thinking differently when everyone else expects the same thing." For a moment, the two of them stood in silence, watching the distant stars. The battle was over for now, but both knew this was only a temporary victory. The Crothi would regroup, learn from their mistakes, and return. Yet the demonstration of human ingenuity had proven something vital. Unpredictability, courage, and creative thinking could change the course of events, even against overwhelming odds. Vera turned to Rylan, her silver eyes shining. Captain, I never imagined that humans could inspire hope on this scale. I am grateful that I could come to you, even if it was against protocol. I could no longer contain my belief that humans might make a difference. Now I see that my hope was not misplaced. Rylan nodded, feeling a surge of pride and determination. Then we prepare for the next wave. Humans don't give up. We adapt, we improvise, and we keep going. And you've got the courage to lead your people through this. Together, we can face whatever comes. Vera's expression softened, her shyness tempered by confidence. Together, she echoed. I feel more certain now than ever before. The humans, they may be exactly what the galaxy needs. As the Odyssey drifted silently through the void, its engines humming steadily, a human and a Velari princess stood side by side. They had faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious through courage, ingenuity, and trust. And though the galaxy was vast and dangers still lurked in the darkness, they had proven that humans, unpredictable, creative, and determined, were forces to be reckoned with. For Princess Vera, the realization was profound. Humans were more than survivors. They were innovators, problem solvers, and perhaps, just perhaps, the hope that many civilizations had been waiting for. And for Rylan, it was clear that human courage and ingenuity could not only meet the challenges of the unknown, but might also shape the destiny of entire worlds. The battle was won, but the war was only beginning, and both human and Velari knew that the true test of creativity, courage, and cooperation was yet to come. The battle had ended, but the Odyssey was far from at rest. Captain Rylan moved through the ship's corridors, checking on the crew, inspecting systems, and making sure the temporary repairs held. Explosions in space might be over, but the tension of what was to come lingered like a low hum. Every officer, every engineer, and every pilot knew that the Crothe would return. And when they did, the Odyssey and its allies had to be ready. Princess Vera floated beside him, her hands clasped, her posture calm yet alert. Despite her earlier nervousness, she carried herself now with the quiet authority of someone who had faced danger and lived to tell it. Her silver eyes, bright with intelligence and determination, reflected the lights of the ship as they walked side by side. Captain, she said softly, your strategies today, they have changed my understanding of humans. I had hoped that your people were capable, but what I saw was beyond what I imagined. You have not only defended the fleet, you have inspired it. Rylan smiled faintly. Humans have a way of surprising people, sometimes even themselves, but it was a team effort. Your people, your technology, your willingness to adapt, it all mattered. I just added a bit of unpredictability. Vera's lips curved in a faint smile, her shyness momentarily visible. A bit of unpredictability. Captain, your actions have altered the outcome of this encounter. You've shown that even against overwhelming odds, creativity and courage can succeed. Humans, you are remarkable. Rylan felt a warmth in his chest. Compliments from a Velari princess were not given lightly, and yet he remained humble. I'm just a human doing what humans do best, but I'm glad it helped. They reached the observation deck, standing together as the stars stretched endlessly before them. Beyond the viewports, the galaxy seemed peaceful, but they both knew the calm was fragile. The Crothe were still out there, regrouping, planning, calculating. The fight was not over. Vera floated closer to the console, tapping into communications channels to contact her advisors and the Velari fleet. I will report our success and the human contribution, she said. It may change how my people view your species. It may encourage alliances where there were none before. Rylan raised an eyebrow. You mean humans might be more respected in your sector? She smiled softly. More than respected, Captain, trusted, valued as equals. What you have demonstrated today, it may shape the future of not just your people, but many civilizations. The thought was humbling. Humans had often been underestimated by older, more technologically advanced civilizations. But now, in the quiet aftermath of battle, Rylan realized that human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability were forces even the Velari could not ignore. For the next several hours, Rylan and Vera worked together to reinforce defenses, coordinate the fleet, and plan for contingencies. Every decision emphasized the combination of human unpredictability and Velari precision. Together, they had created a system that could respond to threats faster and more creatively than any one species alone. As the work continued, Vera turned to Rylan, her voice hesitant but earnest. Captain, I must thank you personally. I could no longer contain my belief that humans could make a difference. Coming to you was against my people's rules, against protocol, but it was the right choice. You have validated my hope. Rylan nodded, his expression thoughtful. I'm glad you came. And I'm glad I could help, but we need to remember this is only a temporary victory. The Krotha will return and we must be ready. That's why we plan and that's why we work together. Vera's gaze met his, steady and unwavering. Yes. And in doing so, we may create something new. A cooperation between humans and Velari that is stronger than either alone. Perhaps a model for future alliances. Rylan felt a sense of pride swell in his chest. Humans had always valued independence and courage, but here, in the vast reaches of space, those qualities were proving essential. And more than that, he realized that collaboration, human ingenuity combined with alien wisdom, could overcome challenges that no single species could face alone. Over the following days, the Odyssey became a hub of coordination and planning. Human officers worked alongside Velari commanders, sharing ideas and testing unconventional tactics. The Krotha threat loomed large, but for the first time both species saw a path forward, a plan that relied not solely on technology or firepower, but on creativity, adaptability, and courage. During one quiet moment in the observation deck, Rylan and Vera stood together, watching a nearby star cluster. The princess's expression softened, and she spoke almost to herself. I came to you because I could no longer contain hope, because I could no longer hide my belief that humans could make a difference. And now, I see it. I see that we were right to trust in your kind. Rylan glanced at her, surprised by the vulnerability in her voice. It's not just humans, Vera, it's you too. You trusted someone new, took a risk, and led your people through it. That's courage as much as any strategy I've devised. Vera's cheeks tinged slightly with silver, an expression humans might call embarrassment. Perhaps. But it is humans, your species, that gave this hope its strength. Your creativity, your courage, your ability to act when others hesitate. It is remarkable. Rylan chuckled softly. Then maybe humans really are the spark some civilizations need. Vera's smile widened faintly. Yes, perhaps, and perhaps the galaxy is beginning to understand that humans are more than we ever realized. You inspire not only hope, but also confidence in others. That is no small thing. Over the following weeks, the Velari adjusted their strategies, incorporating human ideas and establishing protocols for rapid adaptation during battle. The Krothai's movements were tracked carefully, and each warning was met with a response that combined Velari precision with human creativity. Rylan often found himself working late with Vera, refining plans and anticipating the enemy's possible moves. Each session strengthened not only the defense of the fleet, but also the trust and understanding between human and Velari. Slowly, the princess's shyness began to fade, replaced by quiet confidence in their combined abilities. One evening, as the twin suns of a nearby system dipped below the horizon, casting soft light across the observation deck, Vera turned to Rylan. Captain, I want you to know that your people, humans, are now seen in a new light. Your courage, your ingenuity, it is respected and admired by my people. You have changed perceptions, not just here, but across many star systems. Rylan smiled, humbled by her words. I'm just a human doing what humans do best, but I'm glad it made a difference. And I'm glad I had a partner like you. Vera's silver eyes reflected the fading light. And I am grateful that I could come to you despite my fears and hesitation. I could no longer contain my hope, and now that hope is real. The days turned into weeks, and while the Krothai threat lingered, the Odyssey and its allied fleet became a symbol of what could be achieved when species worked together. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were innovators, strategists, and crucial participants in the defense of countless worlds. For Princess Vera, the lesson was clear. Shyness and hesitation were natural, but when hope and courage were acted upon, even the smallest voice could influence great change. She had taken a risk in coming to Rylan, and that risk had proven invaluable. For Captain Rylan, the experience reaffirmed something he had always believed. Humans were capable of extraordinary things when their creativity, courage, and adaptability were combined. And in that partnership, across species and cultures, there was potential to face any challenge the galaxy could present. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the observation deck, Rylan and Vera stood together in quiet contemplation. The future was uncertain, and dangers would come again, but now they faced it with the confidence that comes from knowing the human spirit could shine even in the darkest void of space. Vera's voice broke the silence softly. "Captain, humans are truly extraordinary. I could no longer contain my belief in that, and now it is proven. Thank you for showing me." Rylan smiled, looking out at the vast galaxy. "No, thank you, Princess. For trusting humans, for taking a chance, and for showing me that courage and creativity aren't limited to one species. Together, we've made a difference." And with that, the Odyssey sailed silently among the stars, a human-led fleet and Velari alliance ready for whatever the galaxy would throw at them next. In that moment, hope was no longer contained. It spread, like starlight across the darkness, illuminating the possibilities of what humans could achieve. The galaxy had seen the potential of humans, and in doing so, it had also seen that even the shyest of individuals could spark great change when they dared to act. And thus, a human and an alien princess had proven that courage, ingenuity, and hope were not just qualities of one species. They were universal forces, capable of shaping the future of countless worlds. The journey was far from over, but the bond they had formed, the trust they had built, and the victories they had achieved together marked the beginning of a new era, one where humans were no longer underestimated, and where even the smallest spark of hope could ignite a galaxy-wide revolution of courage and collaboration.